all drop like emails and websites and IGs or something.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
Nicole, there she is.
Hi
Are
guys.
you hearing us?
Like, that's why I opened up. Normally I have it where I have to let everybody in, but for this one, I kind of let it where you guys could come in my hopes that you would just maybe hang out and talk a little bit beforehand too.
Yeah.
You have to wait for me.
We were hoping that maybe you would have a way for us all to like put our contacts in for each other, like maybe maybe what we do in our contacts so that we can use each other as resources for our clients and things.
I like that idea. I don't know. Maybe it's the start of like a Facebook group or something like that.
Yeah.
Or some kind of mastermind thing. I can definitely put that together for us. I'm just going to make a note of that.
Yeah, because you did the LinkedIn group last time, but people weren't really very engaging in that
They
group.
weren't, and that was a lot of people on these calls are from a summit that I did in the summer, which is for wellness businesses. So wellness businesses looking online. And so I know some of these faces we worked together. Yeah. And one of the things that as a team we were trying to do was let's see how LinkedIn works, because I did a summit before and I did a Facebook work group. And to be honest with you, it sucked. It did not work at all. I'm not even on LinkedIn. I had to make a LinkedIn profile just to do that. And we were like, well, they're professionals and maybe they want to network more on LinkedIn but it just like, there was no engagement. I didn't do anything. And then I haven't even been over there since, to be honest.
I tried to get on LinkedIn, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I asked a question or two and nothing happened, so.
Networking is hard, but I like to have a list of resources available. Like if somebody has a certain problem, I can say, oh, Roz would be a great resource to have but of course now we're running into, I think Dr. Irene had brought out the state telehealth issues. Well, she's in Canada, so maybe it's just crossing the border. I don't know, because I'm not in medical support. But I think most of us are.
If you're a licensed practitioner, you have to like make sure that you're able to be licensed like in another state, like that you're able to do that with telehealth. There's like a whole process for it. I'm not a doctor or anything, but I did work in a clinic like where we had like the main headquarters was in Arizona and we're here in Texas. And so some of our nurse practitioners were going to end up seeing some clients in Arizona and vice versa, just because of COVID and people getting sick and, workload and stuff. So
Texas. Yes, Texas.
Yeah. I can only see people, even telehealth wise, I can only see people in the state that have a license. I have a state license for physical therapy wise, but like the health and wellness stuff that I do, I can cross states.
The health coaching, right.
I can cross, you can cross states. Yeah,
because it's the same thing with me with massage. I can do virtual massage self-care appointments with my clients here in Michigan, but I can't, my client who is living out of state that I'm working with for birth, that's a non-licensed service. So that's different, but I could not necessarily give her massage therapy specific.
Anything that's skilled, like a skilled type of answer or technique or anything like that.
Two things. One is, does anybody think that Exie sounds like an old call into a radio station? There's
her voice.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I never won those contests. I had the rotary phone. My parents never got the push button.
You had to go really fast, and you had to wait for that last number for you to be like waiting. And you're like, oh, that last number.
Right. And heaven forbid that the number had a 0 in it, because then I had to go all the way around.
Oh my God. If you messed up, you had to start over. You had to hang up and you had to start over. Oh my God.
The way that your microphone sounds, that to me,
it's just the way your microphone's a little cloudy.
It doesn't sound
I'm using a different microphone today. Yeah,
it just has a little old school like radio station feel to
like
it.
that. Wow.
That's like, caller, what's your question?
Silver.
And she's like, I'm calling from Nevada, and
that's funny.
The other thing I'm going to say admin wise is that we can actually save the chat. So like, I'll think of a way to kind of put us together, but if you want to put your email address in here, and I don't know, can someone confirm to me, there's like a file thing, and then there's also a drop down that says save.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, there is a file.
That or just me?
I see
No,
it.
I see it.
You can save it. Okay, cool. Because if not, I would send it to you guys. But otherwise, put your email address if you want to connect, and then somebody can take the lead and just make a I was gonna say listserv, which is like dating myself too. Put it in a listserv. Just have that go out.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can't handle another Facebook group, I swear.
no.
Yeah.
It's a good question, and then I guess that segues us into social media. So let me share my screen to do this last little bit of slides. It's 10 after 3. I will say I have to leave exactly at 4:00. Why? Because I can't get mail delivered to my house. I have to go to my post office, and I got stuff I have to get before 4:30. So I'm going to be hightailing it out here at 4, finishing us up as much as I want to stay and talk more. So I'm going to be jumping in the car and getting my boxes and coming home. My treat tonight is I've got some art supplies waiting for me there. I get to paint tonight. Just quietly, introversion, creativity. It's a nice combination from so much extroverted. And that's what we're going to talk about now, is introverted versus extroverted creation. And how to, I think the title here is how to build a strong social media presence, strategies to keep your social channels on brand. But actually, the way that I see it, it's kind of more the question of how to make social media feel good for you. And that's what I wanted to start off with, foundation wise, is just myth busting. And this is, I'm sure there's people out there that would disagree with me, but I don't believe that you have to be everywhere and do all the things on social media. I think there's a lot of pressure when you're a business owner, especially when you're starting out, to feel like you have to be everywhere. You have to be on every platform. There are certain platforms that I've never been on. I've never had been active. I have maybe a profile sitting somewhere on Twitter, but I've never been a Twitter person. I don't think you have to be everywhere, but I think what the exercise that we're going to do today is more about identifying which social channels fit in the right way with your business. So I'm starting off that just kind of saying, give yourself permission to not be everywhere and not be posting, because that can be a full-time job. In fact, it is people's full-time jobs to post on social media. And there's a lot of sometimes angst around posting every day and how many times a day and what time of day. And I take the school of thought of any forward motion is good. And I like to move in the direction of enthusiasm. I like to move in the direction of a good question is, where are you already on social media? And some of us are nowhere. I'm not anywhere. I'm not doing anything on social media. And that's fine too. If you're not on social media, then it's important to find alternative ways of creating. So a good example, a real world example for my own business is I don't post very regularly on social media. In fact, it was just recently I'm on one of the channels, I don't think I'd posted in a year or something. It was so in some ways I'm the worst person to listen to about social media. That's why I put it last. No, I think what I'm trying to do in this session is offer some tips, some things that have worked for me. I've also built a big following in social media. So I feel like I was able to build a good following, but I also, the more that I've gotten into my own skill set and my own deep inquiry around how do I like to create, what feels the best, what platforms do I want to be on? Social media has not been, I mean, in the traditional sense of posting every day and spending a couple hours a day on social media is not something I do anymore. So I'm just going to walk you through how we create and also some of the plans that we're implementing right now that might actually work for your business too. So I like to get clients. I like to do exactly what we're doing right now. I like to teach workshops. I like to podcast. I like to make YouTube videos. But specifically, I like this. I like this interaction. I like being live with an intimate group of people, not hundreds of people. I like this kind of like 20, 25 to maybe 50 people where we can get to know one another and I can answer questions. This is a really great way for myself to create. And so I try to schedule these regularly into my calendar. And what that does is it will give me like a flurry of new clients or new leads into my pipeline. And then I feel like I can nurture them all at one time, which is why the last big time that I did this, because we took a break to rebrand in the fall. But the last time I did this was the summit. And that's why it's fun, because some people who are in this group are people that I worked with in the summer. So there was a flurry of activity, a flurry of extroversion on my part. And then I get to have like a month or two to kind of go down, work with the clients that I got from that event, and then reemerge with a brand new offering, a new event, and some extroversion. Like this was like 2 days, you know. The summit was 5 days, but it's different because it's recorded over. None of that was live. So the only parts that were live were like the VIP sessions that we had together. So this is just one way of doing it, but it's the way that works for me because I prefer my day-to-day to be a more introverted creation, and then my promotion to be sprints of extroversion. Now, there was also yesterday when I was asking, there was some about half and half of extroverts too. So you may want to flip that on your head and on its head and have more extroverted content creation. And what would that look like? That could look like some people are happy with doing a Facebook Live every day. Some people are happy with doing Instagram or YouTube Live, going out there and just talking to people every day about a topic, or once a week or a couple times a week. For some people, that extroverted creation is having a Facebook group. Now, I would say for a Facebook group, you have to be a good facilitator. I am not. I don't want to be in a really, I kind of joked about a Facebook group, but I wouldn't want to run that. Like that's just not, it doesn't gel with my creation mode. It doesn't work for me. But for an extrovert, that might be great to have some kind of group that you go in and every day you talk to them and you have like questions that you ask and you interact with the group. I see that as more work, and I see it as very energy draining. The reason why I can do these 2 days is because I've cleared everything in my schedule to just be focused on this. But then for the next coming weeks, this part is done, you know, if that makes sense. I like to use my mailing list as the place where I nurture people, and nurture those relationships in between the events, you know. So if there's like a couple months that go through, make sure that I'm using my mailing list to check in regularly, to share promotions, to just share a little bit about what I've been working on. And as we were going through a rebrand, like I haven't been as vocal as I would like to be, but ideally I like to be communicating at least once a week with the mailing list too. So then that kind of leaves like social media channels, like what is the purpose? And that's what our exercise is for today, is uncovering the social media channels that you feel magnetized to be on. That's a fancy way of saying, like, are there social media channels that you don't mind? You know, for some of us, like, we are naturally kind of gravitate more towards Instagram. Some people gravitate more towards Facebook, Twitter. I've got a list of a bunch of different social media channels. Some people love YouTube and podcasting. I think that those ones can be great. Like, and that's technically it's not social media, but I'm going to kind of like bundle social media together with content creation too. So we're going to do in that in the worksheet, you're going to see blogging on there, you're going to see podcasting, you're going to see YouTube. So we're not just talking about the traditional, like the big, like Instagram, Facebook, but also just social and content. For an introvert, YouTube video, podcasting could be a really great place to work, because you get to have your face out there or your voice, but there's not a lot dictating how and when you create that. And for me, that's important because I can spend a whole day just creating 5 or 6 different podcast episodes. And I'm talking about not when you're interviewing somebody, but when you're just like, it's you riffing on a topic, or same with a YouTube video. I really like that I can do batch and bulk. Bulk and batch working for me is hands down the best place to go for content creation and social media, because I can just like dedicate. In fact, we have on my calendar for two days next week are content creation days for me. And my plan is to get 6 episodes of a podcast up and ready to go. Then they get edited and things like that. But I find for my own personality, it's, if I can kind of bulk create, I can create a lot of content in a short time. And I think that would be the case whether you're extroverted or introverted. I don't think that that's specific to one side or the other. But yes, you don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to do all the things. This is, so I wanted to think, how could I be helpful? Because I know in a short period of time talking about social media, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is like, people don't know what to post. And I find that it's really helpful to just have a guideline. So, there's one thing about like having your social media be branded and have it like fit your brand colors and your logo, and make sure that you use the same fonts and make sure that the pictures are on brand. And that's all important. But it becomes much, much easier when you have just like an idea of what you want to talk about. And so I broke this down. You recognize this wheel from one of the earlier things, but I broke this down for 6 different things that you can post on social media, and like 6 different pieces of content that you can create. So what I would love you to do is just take this and just start, not right now, but just go back into this wheel, and you can just start brainstorming different pieces of content. I like one of my jobs for my assistant, she has me doing like either next week or then the week after, I'm creating, because she's taking my social media and saying we have to post more. So I was like, great, you can do that, because I don't like that part. But I'm like, what do you need me to do? So I'm doing 52 different personality posts. What I mean by that is just like picking out like 50 different pictures, and then just having like a couple sentences, like either about myself or a leading question, so we can have people just kind of like talking back and forth in the comments. But I'll do that and it will be done for the year. Isn't that fun to think about that? To just be like, I could have like all of those posts done for the year. So I try to do the most that I can to have everything pre-scheduled, pre-organized, know exactly what we're posting. So that is a decision that I never have to make, even when I was doing it myself. So for you guys, let's just go through these one by one. One is live streams and new content. Co-10 I wrote. Podcasts and video, blog. So that's like one post. And you can think about these as just go through the wheel. It's as simple as this. You can go through the wheel, post all of those. You can post one a day. You can post every couple days. So this could be like a week's worth of content, or it could be a month's worth of content to get through all 6, depending on how you post. I don't think you have to post every day. That's just me. I think if you post, I'd like to see everybody posting at least a couple times a week, especially if you're just getting started. So you can kind of like get conversations going with people. So people can see that you actually have content, you can grow the followers. But I don't think you have to post every day or multiple times a day even. I remember hearing this like a couple years ago from this marketing guy who said he would rather see you post one piece of content a month and use that same piece of content to promote that multiple times than to create 4 different pieces of content. And, if I could offer, this only slightly relates to social media, but if I could also offer just a little bit of, a little piece of information. So when I was promoting this new brand, I wasn't sure if anybody was going to show up for it, to be honest. Like, I was just like, I don't know. Like, does anybody want to learn about branding? This was the first time that I had put together this 2-day thing. And I sent it out to the mailing list once and had like, I was like, I hope maybe 25 people show up or something like that. So I sent it out to the mailing list. I got like 25 people to sign up. I was like, great. And I could have just stopped there and been like, all right, I reached my goal. Because with our mailing list, and you guys probably feel this too, you feel that like, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to keep spamming my mailing list. But I pushed myself to do 5 more emails out to the list, each one with a slightly different angle. And all I did was I took that full sales page and I broke it down into sections. And I sent those out as emails with a different header for each one. So the emails were different, and I had an opportunity for people to sign up. And what I found is with every email, like 20, sometimes up to 50 people signed up from each email, even on the last day. And so the reason why I'm just underlining this point is because we think that when we create some kind of content or we put something on social media, there's just like subconscious feeling of like, I can't repost that because I already did it. It's like, I'm going to annoy people if they see that again. But the thing is, it's so crowded. There's so like, think about how many emails you got today. There's so many emails. There's so much social media content. There's so many blog posts and podcasts. Like, it's just like, there is no like, there's so much information. And so just like kind of get over yourself in terms of like, can I keep reposting? Because the answer is yes, you can keep reposting. What's great about that for us as content creators is you can create one really good blog post every month, and you can use that on social media in multiple ways, right? So let's take, for example, you have a new piece of content. Say it's a very well-researched blog post about weight loss. I'm just going to stay with that because it's kind of generic. It's like 10 tips for I don't know, getting into like a weight loss program for the new year or something like that. So we start off with a blog post. You get to post that once on, hey, here's the new blog post. Then the next one that you'd post is an infographic that ties in with that piece of content. This is just one way of doing it. You can also get brand new content for every single piece in here and just do that over and over again. But I'm just showing you how, because we're busy, right? And this like, there's a lot of resistance to creating content. So if you like, more power to you if you can sit down and you can write a full blog post or do a whole podcast or a whole YouTube video. But once we have it, it's a shame to just post it once and then just basically let it to just wither and die somewhere on your website. So we might as well take a whole week or a whole month, or however, only you know how you can kind of dictate how fast your content comes out. But if you're not creating a lot, then you might as well capitalize on the one blog post that you got out. So we can take it through one post here. We can take it through a tip of the day, Tuesday tips, or go on Canva and create some kind of infographic so we can see those 10 tips right there, or do 5 at a time. And then the next week you have another 5, but all of these link back to the original blog post. We can have a case study of a client that we worked with wellness, with weight loss, and that can go back to the blog post or the podcast or the video. We can have questions. That's just a picture and then a question where we want to make sure that we have some, like throughout the week or throughout the month, that we have at least 1 or 2 posts on social media that is nothing more than just asking questions. And we'll get back to that in a second, why that's important. But we want to make sure that we have that, because I think a lot of us are focused on always promoting or always getting people to click on a link. And sometimes it's really helpful and really nice to just have posts that are just questions to your users. Then we can link this, or we can just have a standalone post here that's sales, that's a promo, that's a freebie. we don't want to do too much of the selling, too much even of the freebies, but we want to make sure that part of this pie is posting about a freebie or a sale. And then this last one can be a personality post. It can refer back to here, as in like, here's my story, or as in, did you know this about me? You know, that I used to be 50 pounds overweight, and this is one of the tips, you know, or did you know this about me? I wake up every morning and I have, and I do intermittent fasting, because that's one of my favorite ways. Hey, have you read the blog post that's all about 10 tips for weight loss? So that's a great way of taking one piece of content, throwing it through the wheel, and now you have 6 social media posts just based on that one thing. And you can actually make more than this. Like if one is talking about like a promotion of a product, and then one's a freebie, like maybe you have a freebie PDF that really connects with what that blog post is about. So that's just one way. Like you could either use this kind of standalone just as a guide for creating different posts, or you can use this as like a way to take one content piece like a podcast and turn it into multiple posts. So hopefully that's helpful. You can screenshot this, or on Monday when I send out the slides, have that. We already talked about this. What type of creator are you, introverted or extroverted? I think extroverted kind of makes me feel more like a live streaming Facebook group host on social media throughout the day, talking to people. Introverted makes me feel a little bit more like solo podcasts, YouTube videos, writing, so blogging, writing a book, creating lead magnets for people, like PDF lead magnets for people to consume, writing to your mailing list. These are all introverted. And then social platforms that you enjoy. I think I usually recommend for people to pick one platform to learn how to get good at it at a time. So you could be on Facebook, you can be on Twitter, you can use like Hootsuite or Later or something like that like schedules and cross posts. You know, so if you're posting on Instagram, you can use that service to then post on Facebook. So you're posting in multiple places. But in terms of growing your following and getting really good at something, I like to just be able to focus on one at a time. And so I would pick one. You know, you can pick that today or pick it in the coming weeks, but I would pick one for the first half of 2021, commit to getting good at one of the social media platforms. So that can be LinkedIn, that could be Pinterest, that could be Instagram. And I would say, which one do you most enjoy and would feel the easiest to be on every day? Like I was just joking about, like, I didn't go back on LinkedIn because it's not a social, like I'm on Instagram like once a day or several times a week. So that feels like a natural place for me to create from. But LinkedIn, I'm never there. So that was a failed experiment, you know, in my mind, because I had no real reason to ever want to go back over there again. So it's kind of like the Venn diagram of like what social platform do you enjoy? Which one do you feel like, it's also kind of where are your ideal people? Like, are they on Instagram? Do you think that they would enjoy connecting with you on Instagram? Because if you find that sort of Venn diagram connection, you can commit to just focusing on getting good with that platform, at least for a quarter or two. So I'd say like 3 to 4 months or 6 months to focus on just learning. There's a lot of information out there for every single platform about how to get good at that platform. I kind of shared this already. My social media secret weapon is batching and bulking. So I'll do as much as I'm capable of doing at one time. So if it's scheduling out a month's worth of social media posts, if it's creating a year's worth of social media posts, if it's creating 6 podcasts at a time, if you can do it in bulk, I will do it in bulk, because that way it's just out of my space and out of my psyche. And it leaves me to, let me see. Yeah. It leaves me time to use social media for the way that I appreciate it, which I think will resonate with some of you. So I think what comes up with social media for us sometimes is it feels pointless. I there's probably not many of us out there, myself included, who get clients from social media. A lot of times it's other ways that we get clients. It's through referrals, it's through a blog post, it's through SEO that got somebody to our website. It's kind of more rare to have social media be the main place where you get clients. And so that makes me think, okay, so then what is the purpose of having social media? Two things. One's, what's the purpose, and can we use it to get more clients? And I think the answer for that is yes. And that's kind of like circles me back to in this wheel when we were talking about, I said we'd come back to this part here, questions and user generated content. So I think two things. One is one of the purposes of social media is for people to just get to know more about your brand, for them to see your brand regularly, and to just kind of push them more on that know, like, trust continuum. You want to, if you're posting regularly, it allows you to be top of mind. It allows you to kind of remind them of, like, in the branding sphere, right? It's just like, we'll use social media. One of the strategies is not necessarily to get clients, but for people to just like see our portfolio and go, yeah, when I'm ready for branding, Brand Better is the who I'm going to go with, or wow, that's really nice. Or maybe to kind of remind, like, hey, I'm going to send this to my friend because she was just talking about branding, something like that. But a way that you can use social media, and this is why it's great to do the batch posting ahead of time, because I'd much rather see you guys creating like a month's worth of content at the beginning of the month that's ready to go and just goes out, and then spending your time. So anytime you would normally spend on social media posting, I like to see you on there asking questions and getting people to basically raise their hand and start talking to you, and take that. It's a whole strategy around like direct response, getting into people's DMs, sliding into people's DMs, and having a real one-on-one conversation. Because for a lot of us, we want to be having real conversations with people. We don't, that social media can feel like fluff, right? You post something, you get a couple likes, and you're just like, that's it. Like, I did all this work going on Canva and creating the social media post for like a couple likes, and that's it. But we're not necessarily like, we're not like inspiring people to have a conversation with us. And that's like, this for me is cutting edge, and it's a strategy that we're employing starting next year. I haven't done a lot of this. I'm curious to see how it works for us, but I see other people doing this to a great success, using social media as a tool to have these really good one-on-one conversations with people. So how would that look like practically? Well, I think a lot of us, what we do is, even if we have a freebie, we post, like, say you have a freebie PDF lead magnet, that's where people get into your funnel. You go on social media, you post a picture, and you just say, hey, are you having weight loss issues? Click on this link to grab my freebie, or link in bio for the freebie. And then you just kind of leave them to just do their thing. A really different way of thinking about it is, maybe you guys have seen other people doing this in social media too. I've got a really great freebie. I really want to give it to you. Just comment weight loss in the comments, or comment with your favorite emoji in the comments, and we'll send it to you. So people actually start self-selecting, and they basically raise their hand and they're like, hey, I'm interested. And maybe you only have one, that's okay. It only takes one client. Maybe you have a couple. Don't get fixated on the numbers. What we're looking for here is to get someone to have a response. So they respond in the comment, and that's your invitation to send them a direct message. You're not cold calling anybody. You're not bothering them. You're reaching out. They have said, basically, I need some help. This is a topic that I'm curious about. And then just send it. And instead of just like posting the link on social media, you get them to say, hey, I'm interested. Can you send this to me? So then that allows you to go into a DM and say, hey, I saw, on Instagram, and obviously you'll do this more better than I'm saying it right now, but just like, hey, I saw that you were interested in the PDF. Let me know your best email so I can send it to you. And then you can ask them questions while they're there. And at the very least, you get good market research. So I'm really curious, like, where are you at on your weight loss journey? And what are some things that you're looking for help with? And that would be a great time to offer them, like, hey, I do these one-on-one brand strategy sessions, or I do these weight loss sessions, or I do a sales, like, it's not called a sales call, but just some kind of discovery call with them. A lot of us have that as the entry point of working with us. And that's a great time to give somebody that one-on-one connection. And as you're listening to me, I'm sure this is kind of like connecting the dots for some of you about how you can use social media as a real client acquisition entry point, rather than just like mindless posting pretty pictures and like not getting any responses and not getting any clients. And you can do this like regularly. Like, I see businesses, like very successful businesses, that are using social media where every month or every couple of weeks, they're creating a new lead magnet, something that's specific for, and that doesn't take a lot. You go on Canva, you create a lead magnet for a topic. And instead of just giving people a link, you get people to self-select and say, hey, I'm interested. And then you use those people like as an entry point to have a conversation, right? So instead of just like, yeah, just go do your thing and just sign up for this link, it's just like, I actually care about you. Like, I want to, like, how can we help you? Why are you interested in this issue? Whatever the questions are that are relevant, it gives you the opportunity to like start a one-on-one. And then what we were planning on doing, so this is like a brand new strategy for us, is for everybody that writes back and we start direct messaging with, to keep a spreadsheet and actually keep track of the people that we contacted, because they're the people who have expressed some interest. They're the people that we want to follow up with, and we make sure that we're nurturing those relationships. Because when we talked yesterday about the 60% of people who need some convincing versus the 20% who are super fans, those DM people, they may not be ready to buy right now, but they could easily be within that 60% that need convincing over a little bit of a longer term. So that's where we're at with our social media strategy. I think continue to do the regular posting, but I would love to see everyone. I think everyone's business could benefit with some kind of direct response, DMing or sending Facebook Messenger things, to people who express interest, but you have to be the first one to ask. So that's where this section, the questions, comes in. Hopefully this is making sense for you guys. And I hope it's kind of like connecting some dots where you guys are seeing like, hey, maybe I could use social media for good versus just all about likes and followers. And then you can have a small follower account and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get 200 likes, if you get one client out of a post. That's the part for me that's exciting, is actually using social media as a revenue generator instead of just like fluff, which is always how it's felt for me in the past, because I did a lot of just like the mindless posting stuff. I think I've got a lot of questions that I see coming in. These are simple. I think this is my last slide, actually. Yes, it's my last slide. Couple little tips for social media. One is to know and love your clients. The more that we have these client avatar, the more that we'll be able to like know and love that client, be able to create content for them that they'll be really excited to sign up for. Two is to weave your brand into everything. That's really about the voice that you use on social media. It's really about the color palette that you use, using the right fonts that are part of your brand guidelines, and making sure that when you look at your social media, like Instagram, for example, that it looks like your brand. That's important. That's a whole, there's lots of people that have classes around that too, like how to have your social media be more on brand. But the last one that I would say is to be a ruthless editor. And by that, I just mean to, before you post, just to make sure that it does feel on brand to you. Is the voice on brand? Is the color palette? Does the picture fit with the overarching landscape? But I would say all of these tips are less important than using social media as a powerful channel to start having one-on-one conversations with people, because that's the thing that's really going to propel people into a client-based paid relationship with you, is using these new strategies. Man, 58 chat comments. Let me see what you guys are talking about. While I'm reading these comments, you guys can go and start these exercises that we got going on. So how do I want you to do this? The way that I set it up is you don't have to fill out all of these. I just have them set up for all the social media channels, plus blogging, plus podcasting, YouTube, based on what you're doing now, everything that you heard me just talk about. I would pick a couple of these platforms, ones that you feel motivated in 2021 to kind of move towards, to create. And instead of just like saying, I'm going to be on Facebook, what I would love to have you write down is the motivation. Why? Why would you be on Facebook? Why would you be on LinkedIn? What is that going to do for your business? Why would you be on Instagram? We're on Instagram. Why? Because that's a visual place where people can see our portfolio. As a brand designer, that's important. We would be on Pinterest for the same reason. I don't need to be on Twitter, so what's the motivation? What type of customers, and you may not know all this information right now, but it's good to start thinking about it. What type of customers do you think you'll find on Facebook? What type of customers would be on Instagram? How does that relate to your avatar? And then you can just work through a couple, maybe 1 to 3 content ideas for those platforms. And we're not going to get all that done before we're done right now, but you could always come back to it. And I'll start answering some questions that I see here. Okay, email addresses. Parveen, I'm going to email you separately about your question, if that's okay. I can see you on camera now. But I definitely have an answer to that question too.
Thank you. And I loved everything that you shared. I'm just so happy that I took the time. I didn't have time yesterday, and I saw your email pop in today. And I'd heard some of in the summer when you did the summit, I'd heard a few of them. There was a lot, so I was just selective with which ones I could listen to. And I always meant to come back and check you out, and I never did. So I really, your approach is very calm and very not pushy. It's very informative, and it's just, it's very, it just gives me a good feeling inside to be able to potentially work with you. If not now, then definitely in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. Just so you guys know, I planted Parveen. She's actually a paid actor to say all those things. Just I can't wait to work with you someday. No, I love that. Thank you so much. I'm just teasing. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
I think just because there's so many people that are just so in our face that I was kind of hesitant to come on this today. And it's just been with all the group and the group chat and the interaction and yourself. And I think it's because you've just led it in such a very positive, informative, this is what I do, and giving lots of tips, and in the end I still want to come and work with you, if not now, then in the next few months. But yeah,
thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope to with all of this, and for the people who are at the summit in the summer and are familiar with me, or anybody who's just meeting me for the first time in this workshop, I mean, even that, congratulations, that's a lot of me over 2 days to spend as many hours. But I think the two things that I like to try to get across, besides the actual learning the topics itself, is one, every single person here can do all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I like to kind of show that, and it's okay that we've messed up a couple times, Zoom links weren't right, like that, like, it's okay. I'm an introvert. I'm scared. I'm scared every time I press the start button on a Zoom call. Like every time I'm just like, okay, am I ready? Gotta do it, you know, especially the first one, like my heart's pounding. I'm like, I'm about to go live. And so I like to come here just to be real, to say that everything in my business, like I've been where all of you are, I've been there before, you know? So there's nothing branding wise, social media, everything we talked about, there's nothing that you guys can't do, you know? And so I feel very passionate about that. And then the other thing that I hope to be an example for is how you can sell without selling, because that's something that a lot of us hate to do, myself including. I never want to sell. I want to just be able to, like, this is how you can give out content, and there'll be a couple people on this call that will pay me money at some point, who will say, I love to work with you. There's people on this call who want to work with me who can't afford it, who will be able to afford it at some point. You put it on a credit card and you leverage it, or you get a couple clients and you're like, hey, when I get to this point, I want to hire Nicole. But there was no hard sell on this. At least I don't think so. You know, like, of course I want to make money from this. I want to have clients. I want to continue that so I can continue to build my business. And that's part of the strategy. But there's a way to sell without selling. And I think it comes from giving and going out there and being yourself and getting people to resonate with you, so that when you get the right message with the right person at the right time, they're a yes, you know? And for that 60% of people who need convincing, we keep going out there and we keep doing things like this. You know, you gotta burn yourself out and do it all the time. And if you are somebody who's more introverted, then that's why we have automated freebies and opt-ins and videos, so people can get to know you in a way that's not so taxing on your energy. So not everybody has to do a 2-day workshop like this. But hopefully I kind of serve as an example of how you can sell without being pushy too. Because this whole thing is selling. This whole thing was about selling, you know? And so, but I never really sold anything, I don't think, you know? It was never like, get on calls and work with me, give me your money. Like, some of you, I will never get a cent from you, and that's okay. You know, I don't feel any hard feelings about that. You know, I'll continue to be here and love to see your faces and love to interact with you, and hope that for some of you it is aligned, that we work together, because, you know, I'm in business. I said I love making money. I'm not shy about that. I want some of your money too, but I also want to be able to give too. And we can be like that with our clients too, you know, when it's aligned, because I like making money, but I very happily spent a lot of money on my business this year too. And you know what? That felt good too. I've spent a lot of money on my business this year. And you know how good that felt to be like putting the summit together this summer. Like, I hired an executive producer to help me put it on. That cost me like $8,000. But you know what? He brought in $18,000 in sponsorship money. So I was like, cool. It's like, that's when I felt like, oh, I'm really coming into my power as a business owner now, you know? So that's fun when you get to a point where you can start leveraging, like working with that. For me, my biggest learning of the year was working with professionals. It has up-leveled my business in a way that nothing else has ever. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been making not a lot of money for a long time. You know, that was a good 8 to 10 years of, for me, from like 25 to 35 was just like slogging through doing everything myself and not really lining up with an up-leveled business, you know. And really when I started investing in professional help for the things, so I could focus on this, like my zone of genius, like what's happening right now is I'm talking to you guys doing what I do best. And I have a team that's managing my business right now. All my clients, I've got 10 clients right now. I've got my graphic designers are designing, my project manager is project managing. That used to be me who did all of that, you know, but I'm also investing in them. I'm investing in a team so I can be here with you guys creating content to use for the future, selling and creating relationships too, because that's where I want to be, you know. And so that for me was the biggest leverage point in business ever. And I haven't been shy in letting you guys know that since we did that, we're bringing in more money than I have ever. I made more money in the last 6 or 7 weeks than I probably have ever put on a tax return. And that comes down to rebranding and getting really clear on everything that we just did in the last 2 days, getting really clear on that stuff and being able to hire professionals so I can be in that zone of genius. And not everybody's there right now. And I get that, but have that as an aspiration, because trust me, when you get there, things start really unfolding in a beautiful, beautiful way. Hopefully that's a nice vision to leave you guys with, because it's like, I want all of you to have a successful brand story just like that, you know, to have clients. And you know what, since we got clear on our brand message, I friggin' love the people we were working with. I don't have a single bad client right now. We doubled our prices. We have the best, like I'm very clear on that avatar, and the avatar is like we got really clear on like, we want to be warm, friendly, open, approachable. We want clients who are the same. And now all of our kickoff calls are like the sweetest thing ever. Like we're like crying on the phone with our people. Like everyone is just like so good. I'm just like, how did I get so blessed? You know? And so, yeah. Yes, it's 3:58. I'm going to wrap this up now. Everybody, before I sign off, if you want to save this chat, I'm going to save it too, because I want to have it for myself.
Question.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about like having a bilingual page or like social media? Like, do you post in both languages every week? Do you like pick every other week? Like, what would you do and how would you do it? Or would you have like 2 different accounts, one in English, one in the other language?
I'd have 2. That feels like an easy answer for me, to have 2, because otherwise you get people who are just looking. Like if I was following somebody and one of the posts, like every other post was coming up in Spanish, I think I would unfollow.
Okay.
And same if for me, it's not anything about like Spanish. If it was the opposite, it probably would be the same. Like if every other one is in a different language. Yeah, I think I would do 2. And then on your website, you can, depending on where you're at, you can do a plugin that will translate things to Spanish, and people can just kind of pick that.
Yeah, I was actually gonna like just write the content myself, because like I am like fluent.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like the computer generated stuff will like mess up what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And so
if you have the time and the knowledge, Alexandra, I think if you do the 3 dots at the bottom, do you see that? And it says save chat. I just want to make sure everybody knows how to save it before we go. So that says file, it says chat, and then at the very bottom, you see an icon that says file, and then next to it is 3 dots. If you click on that, it says save chat.
I think it's because I'm on a tablet. That's okay.
You put your email address in there, right?
I did, yeah.
I can email it to you.
Yay! Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, I am post office bound. Thank you so much for being with me these 2 days. I really appreciate it, and just big love to all of you guys. And can't wait to work with some of you and then to work in just doing these kind of things again more. So definitely look for more stuff from me and coming up in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet everybody.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye.
Bye.